All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Paul Stanford. I'm the Director of Grants Administration with the City of Baltimore Department of Housing and Community Development. I thank you all for joining us this afternoon, for you all to take part in this information session where my team will go over the City-Wide Affordable Housing TIF program. We know that there's been a lot of marketing behind this program, just based on the amount of people who are in this webinar, as well as the amount of people who registered to participate in this webinar. So again, we look forward to working with you all to answer your questions and to be able to be of assistance to you for your future development projects and your current development projects where these funds could be very important for. Before we go into the chat, maybe before we go into the presentation, I would like to note that please, as we go through the presentation, wait to be able to ask us any questions. We want you all to be able to just get a good understanding of all the information before you start answering the questions, because there is so many people in here, and we definitely would like to try to answer as many questions as possible. For questions we are not able to answer during this presentation, we will be able to record those questions and be able to post, and we'll post them with the response in the next couple of business days, which we'll talk about within the presentation. Next slide, please. Okay, so for the agenda, again, we start off first with welcomes and introductions. Again, my name is Paul Stanford, Director of Grants Administration with the city's Department of Housing and Community Development. And along with me on this call, I have some of my team members. The first member I would like to introduce is Shannon Epps. I have Mary and Yancey on here. She's with the team as well. And then we also have Jasmine Paris-Brooks, who's a member of our team, who's on this presentation as well. Unfortunately, she's under the weather today, so she won't be able to speak during this presentation, but she's definitely here with us, as well as other members of DHCD leadership, Stacy Freed and Wendy Redfern. As far as the overview of today's presentation, as you see below, we'll provide an overview of the City-Wide Affordable Housing TIF program. We're going to ask one of the questions that many of you may have: what is a TIF? So we have that information in here. We have very important dates, which we definitely want you all to be able to remember as you're putting your applications together. We have award terms about the TIF program, eligible and ineligible uses. We will go into detail about the application process, how to apply. We'll talk about the threshold review, the required documents. We'll discuss the application scoring criteria. We will talk about our application portal, which is the Neighborly program or Neighborly software. I know many of you probably have already participated within our programs before and used Neighborly, but again, we'll go over just how to apply, discussion on Neighborly. And then towards the end of this presentation, once we get to this agenda, my team on this call will be responding to your questions that are located in the chat. Now, unfortunately, we will not be allowing anyone to unmute during this presentation, but again, to ensure that your questions are answered, please put them in the chat or email them to us, which you will get the email information throughout this presentation as we go through it. Next slide, please. And as you see here, this box that just came up, this presentation, can you go back for me one more time? And I just want to point this out for everyone. This presentation is being recorded. The recording and slide deck will be published to DHCD's website, where you can reference this recording as well as other information about the TIF program. Again, please type all questions in the chat. Questions will be answered at the conclusion of the presentation. Thank you. You can.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Shannon Epps, and I'm a grant manager here at DHCD. Today, I will be going over information about the TIF program. So what is the tax increment financing program? The tax increment financing legislation authorizes the city of Baltimore to sell bonds and borrow money for development projects. With TIFs, they are intended to provide additional city revenue by increasing the property tax base and attracting new residents. The city is to sell the bonds. That revenue pays for new development, which typically public infrastructure, parks and reference, and open space. The TIF is a tax increment financing district. It was established in 2024 by the Ordinance 24-443 of the Mayor and City Council of Baltimore to assist in redeveloping vacant properties for home ownership or rental to be occupied by households earning no more than 115% of the area median income, adjusted for the family size, determined by HUD, which is 149,845 for a household of 4. The city intends to issue bonds securely by property taxes generated in the TIF district. Proceeds of the bonds will be used to fund the grant program. The TIF grants are intended to foster equitable neighborhood development, reduce the appraisal gap, expand resources for community development, provide opportunities for small, emerging women and minority-owned businesses, support sustainable and healthy communities, grow the city's population, and increase the city's tax base. Through this notice of funding opportunity, the Baltimore City Department of Housing and Community Development intends to make available approximately 15 to 18 million in TIF grants to support the redevelopment of vacant residential buildings for affordable home ownership and rental there in the TIF district. The awarding of grants and payment of funds and the amount of available grant funds for the program is conditioned upon the successful issuance of bonds by the city. So who can apply? For-profit development organizations, nonprofits, CDCs, neighborhood groups, merchant associations, and others with 501c3 or 501c6 status or fiscal sponsorships and partnerships, legal residents, residents in the TIF district, and small and emerging developers. So what kind of projects are eligible? TIF funds assist in redeveloping vacant properties in the TIF district for home ownership or rental to be occupied by households. To check if the property is listed, you can click the Baltimore Affordable Housing TIF link. So some of the appointment dates that are coming up, we have the grant application available, which will be on September 8th. The Neighborly Grant the portal opens September the 19th. The information session 1 and 2, which is today and tomorrow. The deadline to submit written questions, September 17th. Response is posted on DHC website, which will be September 19th. The submission deadline will be October the 3rd, and the anticipated notification of award will be November 6th to November 17th. The dates, of course, are subject to change and to apply online via the portal of Neighborly Software. Any questions, you can email us at ahtif@baltimorecity.gov. For eligible applicants, you can apply under the city award or properties of executed land disposition agreement. For this, eligible applicants are organizations or entities that have received an award letter from DHCD to redevelopment specific properties. They have executed LDA that is in good standing with the department, and they can execute an LDA within 45 days of receiving an award letter and close on the city-owned properties within 120 days from executing an LDA. These eligible properties, they're included in the award letter or in the amended into an LDA. Properties included on the state's FY26 BVRI list. For those under the development registry section, these applicants are applicants who have been selected to participate in DHCD's developer registry. In this, the eligible properties are city-owned properties that are in an investment area or site control of private properties that are in the TIF district. This can include properties with an open permit or properties that are included on the state's BVRI FY26 award list. For those under the general interest program, these will be applicants who are for-profit and nonprofit affordable housing developers, organizations that partner with a developer, individuals who currently own or are purchasing a property that is included in the TIF district, small and emerging developers, entities, or individuals who are interested in rehabbing vacant properties, or individuals who live in the TIF district and are interested in rehabbing an eligible vacant property for their occupancy, for the occupancy of a family member or as a rental to generate income so long that the occupants are at 115% or at below 150% AMI. These eligible properties are privately owned properties with site control that are in the TIF district. This can include properties in the TIF district with an open permit. So the TIF grant award amounts and the terms. There is no maximum amount of funds or numbers of properties or rental units. Funds are necessary to fill appraisal gaps. These demonstrate sources of funds. There are awarded funds that must be spent and have a use and occupancy permit obtained within a 12-month period from the date of executing a grant agreement with BOA, and it must comply with all city insurance requirements. TIF funds cannot be used to acquire city-owned property, nor can improvements be made until after the title transfers. Acceptable forms of site control, depending on the project type, may include privately owned property, such as title deed, executed contract of sale, option to purchase, or an approved land disposition agreement, non-city owned rental, a signed lease that clearly states rights and limits for capital improvements, recipient projects such as homeowner renovation, an MOU or contract with the homeowner, city-owned property, which is an approved LDA. Applicants must demonstrate feasible site control at the time of application and the ability to take title within 12 months of executing a funding agreement, which DHCD will confirm. Please note, DHCD cannot provide project-specific recommendations or on how applicants should establish site control for their submissions. The grant's eligible uses: hard construction costs, which includes excavation, demolition, grading, or similar site improvements in preparation of construction or rehabilitation of the vacant unit, building structure or shell, foundations, framing, floor, and roof structure, roof cover, ceiling, building service equipment, including the electrical, plumbing, heating, and ventilation, and air conditioning systems, alarm systems, elevators, fire protection systems, computer and network cabling, and telecommunications cabling. It also includes interior and exterior finishes, floor covering, stationary equipment, and other building fixed equipment may be subject to additional reviews and potentially determined to be ineligible. So the application process. This will include a video. We'll have to show you a video, just a video in reference to Neighborly if you not have used it before. So it'll give additional information on how to use that.
Hello, Shannon. Are you able to, um, I don't see the presentation. Is it playing on your end?
Yes, it's playing on my end. Is it
Video?
not playing on your end?
No, it's not playing on our end. And I see someone had to raise their hand, but that's probably the
Okay.
reason why.
Okay. Well, we can probably send it separately because I don't
Yep,
know
we can
why it's
send that
not going.
separately. And then
Okay.
we can also, there's also a document, well, an interactive tool that is basically the same thing that's being taught in this video that we can share as well.
Okay. We'll definitely get that over.
And one other thing, Shannon, I just want to bring to the people on this call, if you have questions, because we disabled the chat for everyone to see due to most recent security concerns that we experienced on our recent Zoom calls, please direct message me your questions or any of the other hosts on this call. Thank you.
Paul, while you're getting that taken care of, if the co-host would look in the more section of the chat. That's where the questions are coming in. I've been answering the few that I know the answers to, but it's best that your team get in there and start answering those questions. If there's a question that is applicable to the entire audience, just copy and paste it and then come back over to the everyone tab and, you know, put it in there for everyone to share. But that's where the questions are coming in. If your co-host can start looking at some of those. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll just pick back up. How to apply. You'll access the applicant portal, register your account, sign in and submit your application, which with the link here. And then they have mentioned, we'll send this presentation out. It will be posted onto the TIF DHCD website. So applications must be submitted through DHCD's online applicant enablement. If you experience technical difficulties with the portal, please email ahtif@baltimorecity.gov for assistance or info@neighborlysoftware.com. A completed application, including all requested documents, must be submitted no later than October the 3rd at 5 p.m. to be considered. Late submissions will not be accepted. So this process is what we'll go through to submit applications is the review process. It will include the threshold review, the project readiness review, then the application review scoring, then the housing commissioner determines the awards for the TIF. The threshold criteria. This includes a review, which is an administrative check to confirm that a submitted application is complete and that all required documentation has been submitted. To be eligible for scoring, applicants must submit all required documents in the NOFA. As part of the threshold review, each application will be screened for completeness and accuracy. If 3 or few required documents are missing, incorrect, or incomplete, applicants will be given a limited opportunity to cure the deficiencies with a specific time frame. If 4 or more required documents are missing, incorrect, or incomplete, the application will be considered ineligible and will not move forward for scoring or award consideration. No opportunity to cure will be provided. So here are some of the required documents and narratives. For the application will be project description, application property information form, evidence of site control, project schedule, and scope of work. For financial information, will require project budget, project funds, sources and uses, financial statements, and for the organizational piece, we'll have development, team experience, and require partnership MOUs. So here's some of the application scoring criteria. For the scoring guide, we have financial and spendability, which is about 40 points. Scheduling will go up to 25 points. Applicant capacity, 25 points. Site control will be 10 points, which rounds up a total of 100 points. For the scoring, the financial inability to spend TIF will have a 40 maximal point. It'll result in sufficient financing committed or available to complete the project if grant funds are awarded. So the 40-point maximum, the scoring will be based on executed letters of commitment, award letters, or evidence of personal funds. Grant agreements and loan agreements must be executed and funds available by the time a grant agreement with the city is executed. Applicants using personal funds will be required to provide evidence of availability of funds no more than 30 days before a grant agreement with the city is executed. And budgets must clearly demonstrate that grant funds will only be spent on eligible items. The applicants have sufficient financing to cover non-grant funded costs and that funds will be spent and can be reimbursed in accordance with the program requirements, which is designed to meet certain federal tax code requirements. For the scheduling portion, this will be a 25-point maximum. This will include, does the project schedule clearly indicate such key benchmarks as land and financial closings, executing of a grant agreement with the city, anticipating building permit approval, construction start date, issuance of a use and occupancy permit, and occupancy? Is the schedule realistic so that the construction can be completed and a use and occupancy permit can be issued no later than 12 months from the date of a grant agreement with the city is executed? In this maximum, scoring will be based on feasibility of completing a project within 12 months of executing a grant agreement. And the applicant is available to undertake the project, site control is achievable, and that the project can be completed and a use and occupancy permit can be obtained within 12 months. For the applicant capacity portion, this will be 25 maximum points. So based on the project descriptions, applicants must be able to demonstrate that they have expertise, staff, partners, consultants, and contractors to complete their proposed projects and obtain a use and occupancy permit within 12 months of executing a grant agreement. This maximum scoring will be based either on prior experience and or readiness to proceed, complete team, and the team members' experience in renovating vacant family residential properties. For site control, which has a maximum of 10 points, the applicants requesting funds for privately owned properties must be able to provide proof of ownership or purchase agreement that clearly indicates a closing date. If the purchase agreement includes conditions that are contingent on closing, or if the closing date has been extended, applicants should include an explanation why closing has been extended and the status of any contingency items. For the 10-point maximum scoring will be based on a demonstrated ability to have title to a property no later than 30 days from executing a grant agreement with the city. So the reimbursement process after awarding. Funds are provided on a reimbursement basis. Grantees need to have the funds to cover the cost for which reimbursement will be requested. To be reimbursed, you have to have complete requisition form provided by city DHCD staff. Grantees will receive payment after DHCD is provided completion of improvements and certification from third-party inspector, and remaining funds will be provided once grantee provides use and occupancy permit and sales and or occupancy of rental units and proof of income. So if you have you need assistance with Neighborly, please reach out to Neighborly Technical Assistance at info@neighborlysoftware.com. Any questions? Note, DHCD cannot answer project-specific questions. If you have any questions, you can please type it in the chat and DHC representatives will be able to assist. Any other questions, you can submit written questions to ahtif@baltimorecity.gov after the session. This concludes our presentation. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Shannon. Thank you for everyone who joined this afternoon. Right now, again, we will open things up for questions. I know there were several chats that I've been addressing throughout this presentation. So again, thank you all for your questions. But now we can open up to all the co-hosts who can unmute to be able to answer some of your questions. So again, if you have questions, please send a message directly. But what I'm going to do, and some of my other team members can do as well, is just go over some of the questions that we did receive in the chat that we did not respond to just yet. So one of the questions comes from Kim Lane. Will this presentation be available on ACD's website? Is there a spreadsheet with properties, not just the map? We need to add them to our BVRI ACD inventory tracking system. So Kim, to answer that question, the presentation will be available on DHCD's website. So today's presentation as well as tomorrow's presentation will be available on DHCD's website. As far as is there a spreadsheet of the properties, there is an interactive tool that you can use to see which properties are in a TIF district. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go ahead and respond to your chat and drop that link to your message to ensure that you get a response on that. All right. Akiba Giddings, she asked, what is the budget per property? Wendy or Stacy from DHCD, are you able to address this question from Ms. Akiba Giddings?
Hi, everyone. Can you hear us? I'm Stacy Freed. This is Wendy Redfern to my left. There is no specific limit on the amount of TIF funds you can request, but TIF funds can only be used for certain hard construction costs that are included in the budget that everyone will need to submit. A few examples of eligible hard construction costs include roofs, framing, walls, ceilings, foundations, on HVAC and other kinds of plumbing, mechanical, and electrical costs. But there's additional, please check the notice of funding opportunity. It describes in more detail eligible costs and how those costs are approved so folks can be reimbursed. Did you want to add anything?
All right, thank you, Stacy. There's a question from Brenda. Please confirm grant funds will only be reimbursed at the completion of the project. So again, Brenda, in the NOFO, there is a detailed explanation on when funds will be reimbursed. There's a chart there. But to share that information with you, the amount, 90% of funds can be requested, and what benchmark you need to meet is the completion of improvements and certification from a third-party inspector, and the remaining portion of whatever funds you're awarded, 5% will be provided with the use and occupancy permit, and the remaining 5% will be provided after the sales and occupancy of rental units and proof of income. DHCD leadership, is there anything else you want to add to that question?
No.
All right. Please review the schedule again. Daniel Henson, Mr. Henson, the schedule's in the NOFO. So if you download the NOFO, which I can respond to your question here in the chat with a link to the NOFO from our website, you'll see a copy of that schedule in there, as well as this presentation will be available on DHCD's website, where you can have full access to the presentation as well as the PowerPoint. And I just dropped that NOFO in the chat for you. Ebony Little, how to obtain site control for vacant houses. DHCD leadership, you want to respond to that question?
Can you repeat the question, please, Paul?
So this is from Ebony Little. She asked how to obtain site control for vacant houses.
So in order to demonstrate site control, you would already either have been given an award or you'll have a land disposition agreement. If you're interested in purchasing property from the city, you can visit our website to put in an application at Buying to Be New.
Thank you, Wendy. Mr. Christopher Barrett, Christopher, is there any restrictions on soft versus hard cost reimbursement? Again, the NOFO outlines all the eligible uses in it, so you need to refer to that. So I'll respond to your question with a link to the NOFO. Next question. It's more of a recommendation, not a question, or just a form of assistance by Mr. Donald Wedlock. He said, I think this is a great opportunity. If anyone needs help with any of the properties, Flip a Buck is on the ground in Baltimore providing cleanouts, hauling, and community beautification while giving local youth real jobs and workforce skills. Every property touch isn't just about a house, it's about restoring neighborhoods and creating opportunity. If you are rehabbing and prepping properties, FAB, Flip a Buck, can help get them ready for remodel. Connect with me directly. He provided his phone number, and if any of you are interested, again, we don't sort of endorse this this business, but the number is 315-225-5623. Again, DHCD does not endorse this business, but just wanted to share that message from the chat. Is 5-story 30-unit apartment buildings qualify for TIF?
It would, that's hard to answer without knowing additional information about the project.
Yep, and that was from Sean Shaw. So Sean, you may want to sort of put that project address in the TIF in code map to see if it's even TIF eligible in the first place.
We should reiterate that this these TIF funds are to focus on vacant buildings that are throughout Baltimore City. So if it's an apartment building that has a vacant building notice, it's a possibility. Otherwise, these funds are really to
Correct.
focus on the scattered vacant buildings that need to be rehabbed.
So if if the gentleman asking the question is looking for gap funding because he has a deal and he's trying to get it, he has a gap and he can't close on his financing, TIF funds would not be an appropriate use for his particular project.
Okay, understood. For that gentleman, you may want to look into our Affordable Housing Trust Fund rental NOFA, Notice of Funding Available. Again, we expect to have a NOFA launch for that program later this year. So again, if you're signed up for DHCD's newsletter, you will receive information about that NOFA for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. Again, that'd be great for that project based on the NOFA for the trust fund being for rental purposes. So Ebony Little asked another question. Also, the funds are reimbursed. Yes. So that means the builder needs to have their financing for construction already in order. So yes, Ebony, in the NOFO, we outline information such as the ability to provide sources of financing to ensure that you're able to, if you receive these funds, you're able to complete the project. So again, that will be in the NOFO as well. And I'll just respond to your chat with the link of the NOFO. All right. We got quite a few more questions here. Is today and tomorrow the same information? Yes, Dante. Of course, the question will be different based on the audience, but yes, the information will be the same. To apply for a TIF, do I need to already be in process of purchasing the property? And is it required to have a detailed budget and development plan for the project? For your last question, absolutely. That will be able to have us determine exactly what type of funds you need to complete a project. And as far as the action to have site control, yes, you will need to have site control of some sort to be able to apply for the TIF. Again, that does not include sole ownership. That may include the land disposition agreement, but you need to show some proof of site control in order to apply for the TIF. That's from Nichelle Taylor. And Ism asks, can we get a link to the federal regulation you mentioned, other accounting rules for achieving reimbursement? I don't remember mentioning that. Ism, the reimbursement procedures that we outlined in the NOFA was solely based on DHCD's reimbursement procedures. So again, you may want to refer back to the presentation as well as the PowerPoint and the NOFO to be able to get your question answered on that.
Hi, Paul, this is Stacy. We can provide the citation from the tax code regulations when we post the questions and answers on our website towards the end of this week.
Okay. All right, Ism. So that was for you for your question. All right. Carolyn Lotus, can't see your question. Rupert and Gwen McCabe, could you please clarify the emerging developers category? Again, that's in the NOFO as well. I'll drop that in the chat. Again, please always reference the NOFO when you have like application specific questions. But again, we'll try to answer as many questions as possible during this meeting. But Kim Lane asks, is there consideration for pushing back the due date of the application? It's the same day CCG is due. Again, for those who are familiar with our Community College Grant Program, that's another funding program, and that's Capital Award as well. And it is a very short time for community engagement. I put that towards leadership on that question. But again, if there's any changes to the deadline of the application, we will update it on DHCD's website. But at the moment, we don't have there hasn't been a discussion about pushing it back, the due date back. Alicia Carson, if properties are included on our approved BVR award list, but they do not have a green dot on the TIF map, we are not able to apply for TIF funding for them? ? Correct. It must be for this program, the via code map, it must have the green dot and must be TIF eligible. Are architect and engineering costs reimbursed? Rupert and Gwen, I would highly recommend again, you look at the NOFO, which I'm about to drop in the chat, or to respond to your question, so you can look at the eligible cost.
Actually, Paul, can I jump in for a second?
Yep.
What the folks that just asked that question should do is wait until the online application is posted and take a look at the development budget. The development budget very clearly highlights line items for which TIF funds could, for which TIF funds can be used, and indicates costs which would not be covered by TIF funds. But as a reminder, the TIF funds are used for hard construction costs.
Yep. Thank you, Stacy. And Alex asked a question about is the TIF districts individual properties and neighborhoods. From the map, it looks like it's based on individual properties. And one of our DACD staff members, Mr. Jordan Carter, responded to that question. So thank you, Jordan. Individual properties as district is not continuous. So again, only individual properties. Sekwan Merit, is there a possibility funds can run out before completion? Who would pay? I'm not, when we review your application, what we're going to do is just look at the project feasibility. So in the application, you need to provide all your sources in your application, and your application will be reviewed and scored based on the feasibility of your project to ensure that you're able to complete the project if awarded TIF fund. Ozo, hello and thank you. To receive reimbursement at rehab completion, does the property need to be a rental? Does this program support properties that will be sold soon after rehab? To receive reimbursement at rehab. To receive reimbursement at rehab completion, again, this is Ozo. To receive a reimbursement at rehab completion, does a property need to be a rental? No. In the NOFO, again, we describe exactly what the requirements are in order for you to receive reimbursement. And then your second question, does the program support properties that will be sold soon after rehab? Yes. Kevin Hooper, is this fund extended to the removal of trees and excavations on the property? No. Heather Braxton, can you reshare the email questions? Can you reshare the email for questions that was on the last slide? And it is, I'm responding. Okay, Heather Braxton, I just responded to your question about the email address. Is there a cap on funds per project for Will Rogers? No. Michelle Taylor, this doesn't seem to genuinely benefit those who are committed to reinvest in the community. It feels like it's geared primarily towards developers. So if you read the NOFA, Michelle, again, appreciate your comment. There is an opportunity for those who would, we would consider not your normal developers who work on these type of projects. We have an opportunity for legacy homeowners to apply for the program, emerging developers as well. Again, I would highly recommend you take a look at the NOFA to be able to answer that question. Oops. Sorry about that, good people. All right, still going. Let me see. One of the questions, from Shan, can you share the link to the website where I can access the recording, please? Join late. Sorry for calling you out on the join late part. So I'm gonna drop the link to the city's website in the chat for you. And all you need to do is just go to this website, which is the city's website, to be able to access this information as well as other information about the program. All right. Kim Lane. Oops, it's going so fast. Did ACD complete and publish the qualified developers list?
So award letters have been sent out to the developer registry awardees. We have not published the list yet, but we'll do so immediately. Once we confirm that everyone has received their information.
Thank you, Wendy. That was from Kim Lane. Lloyd, can this grant be used for a project that is currently in process? Also, if you have multiple projects, do I have to submit multiple applications? Mr. Lloyd, so yes, so can this grant be used for a project that is currently in process? Yes. Also, and it must be a TIF district, by the way. Also, if I have multiple projects, do I have to submit multiple applications? Again, that's on you. If you want to submit one application with all the properties that are eligible to qualify for the program, please do so. But again, that's up to you. Only one application will be awarded though if you score high on both applications. So just be mindful of that. How do I acquire TIF eligible properties that is privately owned? That's from Charlita Stanton.
If you're looking to acquire privately owned property, you would have to do a private transaction. So you would have to find out who the owner is and negotiate a sale.
All right, and that's from Charlita Stanton. Sequan Merritt, please add the link here. And it looks like we did. Again, he was just asking for the NOFA. Again, y'all, the NOFA on Neighborly will be launched this Friday. But we do have the PDF version of the application so you can prepare for it, for your application. Does the property need to have a VBN? Kim Lane.
So properties, to be eligible to submit an application, properties must be included in the TIF district. And properties that are included in the TIF district for which you can request funds do have been issued a vacant building notice.
All right, thank you. And Travis Launchman, also, what is the status of the bond insurance regarding program funding? Thank you. Anyone from DHCD want to answer that question?
Can you repeat it again? Paul, can you repeat, please?
It's from Travis Launchman. What is the status of the bond insurance regarding program funding?
So I'm not sure I understand the question. The insurance the insurance requirements that the applicant as the property owner and that the general contractor will need to have or described in the notice of funding opportunity.
Yeah, sorry about that, Stacey. My accent got in the way. Issuance. What is the status of the bond issuance?
Oh, I'm sorry. At this time, the city plans to sell the bonds by the end of the calendar year. And so funds would be available after that.
All right, and that was Mr. Travis Launchman. Fazil Rahman, do you have listing of these properties in Excel or Word document? No, we have an even better tool, which is the code map, where you can just type the address in and it'll let you know immediately if these properties are eligible for TIF or not. So I'll respond to your message with a quote, Fazal, with the link to code map for you.
I'm sorry, Paul, aren't all of the TIF properties in a searchable database specifically for the TIF?
You can use
Yes.
code map. Oh, well,
We did create a search. There are two options. There is a searchable database. The link to the database is included in the notice of funding opportunity. You can go on to that application, type in an address. If it's an eligible property, it will pop up in the database. Alternatively, as Paul has described, you can use CodeMap as a tool.
So there was a question from DHCD. I don't know who that was, but who that is says, please explain when successful applications will receive confirmation of winning the award. Also, it appears individuals can apply. This means a single person without a business or NGO in their name. So the NOFO goes into detail on when the awards will be expected to be provided once the applications are submitted, once threshold review is done, and then once applications are scored, if applicable, and then the applicants will be made aware directly on when that award will be. There is a timeline in the NOFO that outlines the potential dates when those awards will be made, but there's no specific date just yet. Also, it appears individuals can apply. This means a single person without a business or NGO in their name. Yes, that is correct. They can apply. They still need to complete the application like everyone else, but yes, an individual whose property is in a TIF district can apply. Does the dollar houses qualify for this program? From Bridget. Is it in a TIF district? If the property is in a TIF district, based on what we mentioned about code map, it should be able to qualify. So I'm gonna drop the link to code map where you can determine if this property is even in a TIF district. Again, that was from Bridget. Christopher, is there a general estimate for how long approval takes relative to application submission? Also, how long after the award is approved will funds be reimbursed? So Mr. Christopher Barrett, so again, is there a general estimate on how long approval takes relative to application submission? Again, we outlined that in our NOFO. You can take a look at the timeline to sort of get a determination of that. We don't have an actual date, but again, we have an anticipated date where you can refer back to the NOFO for that, as well as the beginning of this presentation once you have the recording. Also, how long after the award is approved will funds be reimbursed? Again, that kind of depends on the project. Again, there are certain criteria that you need to meet in order to receive funds. And again, that's outlined in a NOFO as well. So it can determine really on the project on how quick funds can be reimbursed based on you hitting certain benchmarks related to the reimbursement of the funds that you spent. Rupert and Gwen, we have an LDA for 2 vacant lots. Can we use these funds for developing vacant land?
Hi, Paul. So you cannot use TIF funds to do new housing construction on vacant land. You can use TIF funds to support the redevelopment of hard construction costs for properties included in the TIF district that have received a vacant building notice.
Thank you. We have a question from Tracy Clark. The slide mentions legacy and current residents. How do they benefit from the TIF? If they are current residents and their homes do not have VBNs. So one thing I would just recommend first is to just confirm that property is even in the TIF district. Again, for all applications, I think that would be the best thing that a lot of you need to do first, just to confirm that. But then as far as this additional question, Tracy Clark, did someone from DHC want to provide further details on her question? I can repeat
Sorry,
if
Paul,
necessary.
can you repeat the question, please?
The slide mentions legacy and current residents. How do they benefit from the TIF? If they are current residents and their homes do not have the VBNs.
So when Mayor Scott promoted the idea of the City-Wide Affordable Housing TIF, it was very important to the administration that we have an emphasis on equity and that we provide ways for current residents to be able to participate in the TIF application process. If you live in the TIF district and you meet the requirements in the notice of funding opportunity and you want to apply for TIF funds to help redevelop a vacant property, you can do so.
Thank you.
Paul, Stacy, can I just add to that a little bit, or it's kind of a question from what I think I understand. The other way that legacy residents benefit is the TIF funds, if I understand it correctly, Stacy and Paul, can only be used for the development of affordable housing.
Yes, Tammy, that's correct. So one of the other piece, and I apologize, I should have mentioned that. Legally, TIF funds can only be made available to households up to 115% of AMI. However, this TIF has an emphasis on affordability, and under the legislation approved by the City Council that allows the city to sell the bonds. We are also emphasizing affordable home ownership opportunities to households of both 60% and 80% of the area median income, and those are actually indicators that the department is required to report out on.
All right, thank you all for that. All right. Says if you this is from Isaac West. If you already started the project on TIF, can you be reimbursed? Yes. If you have site control, if it's in the TIF district, yes. But again, you'll still need to be responsible for completing the required application. That's from Isaac West.
Paul,
Yep.
but isn't it only if it presently has a VBN? Did you
I
phrase?
mean, they can.
The criteria is that it has to be specifically listed in the TIF legislation. Whether or not it has a VBN, it's likely that it does. But the specific criteria that everyone should be looking for is my property listed in the TIF district?
Thank you, Wendy.
Yes. Correct. And if you have construction underway, it may or may not, depending on the item, it may or may not be eligible for reimbursement by the TIF if you are approved for an award of funds. One of the requirements in order to be reimbursed is the requirement that the work that is done is inspected and approved by a third-party inspector. DHCD can make one available, or if you have one, you can include that as part of your application. In order to inspect the work, the inspector has to be able to see the work. So if you've done plumbing or electrical and something that's covered up by drywall, chances are you could have a hard time being approved for reimbursement.
Okay. Michael Gaines asked how to access the developer registry.
Again, we will post it. We'll post it in the next couple of days, so the end of the week. Can you hear me?
Yep. Thank you, Wendy. That was for Michael Gaines. Avery Carter, it's more of a technical question he's asking. The Buy It to Be More website has been down for several months. How can we gain site control if you are not making the website available for the public to access available homes? When will the website be active again?
The website will be active again soon, as we are still going through some changes to it. But I just want to make everyone aware that if you are looking to start getting site control now, you may be better equipped to do another round of this TIF funding. This round is for individuals that have site control or are very close to obtaining site control. There is a time limit for which the funds must be spent, and that is consistent with the way we have issued this application.
And if I can just pick up on what Deputy Commissioner Redfern said, this is the first round of funds we are making available for the City-Wide Affordable TIF. The goal is that the city will issue up to $150 million worth of bonds over the course of the next several years. We don't know the schedule for when additional bonds will be sold, or we'll be able to post additional applications, but this is not the first bite at the apple.
All right. Thank you. Darren Clausen, why are some vacants on the same block ineligible while others are eligible?
So part of the reason for that is that there is an affordability component to all of the properties that are qualified in the TIF district. This was an attempt to make sure that there was balance between affordable units that are available on a block and those that are not, so that there is proper market availability.
Thank you. Nadira Blyes, are you all going to open fixed pricing program open this fall to get vacant properties?
So we don't have a date as yet, but the buy-in to be more and fixed pricing will be up soon.
All right. And some of these questions for those in the chat, if it's already been answered, I would just kind of skip those. I assume that you all are still there, available and listening, because some of these questions are very similar. Let's see. Can I do this as a private investor from ISM? Yes. Jody Davis, what is the likelihood of getting permits per the lengthy wait times for construction permits from Baltimore City with 12-month timelines? Also, how do we get on the list as an emerging developer? We applied but never received updates. Jody Davis, I can answer that question. As far as the second part of it, I'm not sure what list you're referring to as to be an emerging developer. That's an applicant criteria of this TIF. So you just kind of need to mention that in your application. So I don't know what you mean by we applied but never received updates. You may be referring to either our Affordable Housing Trust Fund or our Community College Grant programs. But again, for this TIF program, there's no emerging developer list that we retrieve any applicants from. Donyette House. Hi, I'd like to know if I'm understanding this correct. If I own a property already, I'm eligible for the fund, or does it have to be in a district? It has to be in a district, Donyette. Rupert and Gwen. Oops, sorry about that, y'all. Some of these questions have already been answered as well, and it's kind of bouncing me around. Let me see. Again, we want to make sure we're not missing some of you folks. But again, you can always submit questions after this to the email. Jimmy Robinson, I'm not sure if I missed in the presentation, but is there a match requirement? And if so, can the match be cash or in kind? Jimmy Robinson, no, but you would need to definitely provide proof of funds as part of your application. There is a sources upload of financials to ensure that you can complete the project. That's as part of the application that you need to upload. Kiera, can we appeal eligibility of properties we believe fit the criteria but are not included on the TIF on the list/TIF map?
So the properties that are listed were properties that were approved by the city council. In order to have additional properties added, we would need additional legislation.
Thank you. Another question from Donyette. Are nonprofits eligible to use funds for purchasing TIF properties? Nonprofits are eligible to participate in the program as an applicant, but again, these funds are not towards acquisition, they're towards construction. So you can definitely use, if you're a nonprofit, you can use TIF funds for construction. All right, Sean, what if a project is a multifamily and gets approved for TIF funds, but takes more than 12 months to complete the project? Is 12-month completion time extendable? So Sean, again, this is for vacant properties. Again, that property must be in the TIF district as well. So again, if you're looking at mostly multifamily development projects, I would highly recommend you look into the Affordable Housing Trust Fund program, which has a NOFA launching in November of this year. But again, if you have other eligible properties that are in TIF districts, definitely look into that for this program. Christopher Barnett, is there a general estimate on how long the approval process takes relative to application submission? Again, that's outlined in the NOFO, Christopher. Isaac West, if you already started the rehab some of these questions are being answered again because it's getting bumped up to the top. Let's see. Okay. We keep going. All right. Thank you, team, for responding. This seems to be a new one from Jack. Do you have to be a resident of Baltimore, a resident of the state of Maryland in order to benefit from the program? No, but there is some other requirements in application that you must be able to meet. So this again, review the application via the NOFO that's available on our DHCD's website, and then we'll be available on Friday. Shalita, sorry about the name butcher. If properties in TIF district must have a VBN, then how would this benefit legacy owners who are, I think we already answered that question, I think. Can you? All right, K. Garrett, can you clarify your statement that you can submit multiple applications for multiple properties, or you can submit one application for multiple project, but only one application will be awarded? Does that mean that a award can be made for multiple properties via one application? It's a lot of questions, K. Garrett. Also, if there are multiple properties on one application, could there be a partial award be made for one property, but for another? Again, K. Gary, again, thank you for your question. Again, if you're interested in applying for multiple properties, I would say when you complete an application, just add all those properties that you plan to apply for in that application. But again, if there are other different types of applications that you are looking for, whether it's home ownership, whether you're doing one for rent, so for rental properties, you may want to look at the opportunity to create two applications. But again, that's really on you. Again, this is going to be competitive as far as the application that we received. So again, that's, and what I mean by one application be awarded. So if you're one entity with multiple applications being submitted, please only expect maybe one to be actually awarded, because again, this is going to be a competitive process and there's many other interested applicants. To hear Cosme, do you not have the list of properties that are part of TIF versus do you not have the list of properties that are part of the TIF versus entering the address will like a guessing
Yes.
game? Did
So
I
Paul,
miss something?
no, so I think I understand the question. So just by way of background, there are over 4,300 properties included in the TIF district legislation that could be eligible for an award of TIF funds. We've gotten this question a couple of different ways. The majority of questions we've got have been, I just need a fast and easy way to check one or two properties to see if they qualify. We do have a database of all 4,300 or so properties that could be eligible for an award of funds. We are working on adding that to the application in a way that makes it easy for folks that just want to check one or two properties, and for folks that have a large group of properties they want to check.
All right, thank you, Stacy. And another gentleman asked the same question: is there a list of available and eligible properties? So again, that kind of answers that question as well. Again, I know, I'll drop the link to the code map so you can put the address in there as well. And that was for Abba Yami, who asked that question. Is developer registry? Okay. Okay. Thank you, Jordan, for answering some of these questions as well. How soon does a program process payment for work done? Again, we're not at that point yet, so I can't really provide details on how quick payment can be provided. One recommendation I will give to you, if awarded funds, as far as how quick the payments are processed, please ensure once you have your grant manager, if awarded funds, work with your grant manager to ensure you have all necessary documentation, because anytime there's missing documentation at any payment request process within any of our programs, the less available, the more it takes for our review. So again, I know that's more for future reference if you're awarded funds, but I just want to mention that. Christopher Barnett, you're welcome, sir. From Joshua Baker, buying to Be More website does not show expression of interest properties or right of entry. What is the way to move forward on this? And would TIF funds be able to be used for properties obtained this way in a TIF area?
So again, I feel like we may have addressed this already. The properties need to be in the TIF district. If you're not already on a path to have site control, please consider that there will be another round of TIF availability, and that may be more appropriate for you.
Thank you, Wendy. A couple of these questions we've already answered. Z Devin, what about protection and security for these projects during construction? I wouldn't, that's eligible use in the TIF application.
So Paul, if I think this is a two-part, if I'm understanding correctly, I think this may also be a two-part question. One, I think the individual may be asking, can TIF funds be used to secure the site and for carrying costs associated with securing and maintaining the property while it is under construction? We would again refer you to the budget form that everyone will need to complete that specifically identifies costs that are likely to be eligible for reimbursement. The other way to look at this question, if I'm understanding correctly, is yes, we would encourage all developers to make sure that their projects include measures to protect and secure their site while it is under construction.
All right, thank you, Stacy. Rashad Henderson, is there a minimum reserve needed? For example, if I have a $100,000 project, can 20K reserves be used if all my benchmarks can be covered in 20K increments?
So we don't have I'm not sure if he's asking if he needs to include a contingency line item in his budget, or if he's asking about if he's doing a rental property or something, if he needs to include an operating reserve as part of his pro forma. The development budget does include a line item for contingency. We include folks to include a contingency because you never know what can happen during a project.
All right. Again, this is a more popular question in this whole presentation, but Shalita Stanton is asking again, I'm still confused on how legacy owners interested in rehabbing property can benefit from this TIF when there is no VBN. You can't be both a VBN and a resident question.
No, you can't be both. So an example of how this would work is if you are looking to be a homeowner in a property that is currently vacant, not on a home that you live in and are a homeowner right now. This TIF is to address vacancy. And so if you want to purchase a property or you're on your way to purchasing a property that you intend to live in, these funds would be appropriate for you.
Or to have a family member live in.
Yep. All right, Mr. Thank you for your question. Alfred Johnson. But what if you already have the work that falls under the TIF grant, but was approved by the Baltimore City Housing permit inspectors?
Paul, can you repeat that? I couldn't hear.
Yeah, this is Alfred Johnson. But what if you already have the work that falls under the TIF grant, but was approved by by Baltimore City Housing permit inspectors?
So as Stacy said before, since these funds are not to cover work that has already occurred, if walls have been closed, even if there was a permit inspection that approved it, these funds are for work that occurs after the application period.
All right. Terry Miller Vaughn, I have an eligible property held in an LLC. Can I use my personal fund financial statements for TIF application? Yes, for source of funds to complete the project, you can use your personal financial statements for TIF application. Again, Terry Miller Vaughn, just make sure that this property is also in the TIF district. And then also provide any other funding source that you receive that will go into the project. Latrina Webster, is there any other opportunities or initiatives for investor and developer to consider that are not targeted at affordable housing? Any LOI being accepted in the city? I could
Completely true. Go ahead, Paul.
I can take a crack at that. So with our community catalyst grant program, like some of our other programs, we don't specify an AMI requirement. When we're looking at applications, there is a big interest in properties that do have affordability requirements, but through our community catalyst grant capital program, we don't. So again, that application expires October 3rd. So again, if you're interested in properties that may possibly exceed this AMI level of 115, definitely look into the community catalyst grant program based on that program not having specific AMI requirements. Okay, thank you, Jordan, for Phil Stokes' question response. All right, let's see. Thank you, everyone. To hear 12-month time frame is a challenge. If you have to go through the permit office, is there an expedited process at the building permits office?
So
I
there's
don't.
not an expedited process, but our intention here at the department is that all properties that apply for permit, they will be issued in a consistent way that would get you to the 12-month mark.
All right, thank you. Can TIF homes be turned into assisted living for low-income adults?
That's not the intention of these funds. This is for affordable housing for owner-occupied properties or rental, not multiple.
All right, thank you. A lot of these other questions have been answered by members of the team. One of the questions from Will Rogers, again, is more specific to his project. If I already own 10 properties in the TIF district, can I apply for all 10? Is there a limit on how many properties I can apply for? Answer, Will Johnson, no. There's no limit. Joshua Baker, would TIF funds be able to be used for properties obtained through the buy-in to be more Baltimore Dollar House program in the TIF area? Yes. Again, another question from Sean: is 12-month time limit can be extended for a good cause? If yes, what is the maximum extension? We haven't discussed any extension yet, Sean, but if there's any changes, we will let you know if you're awarded funds. Again, Malcolm just asked for the email. Jasmine provided that. Thank you, Jasmine. Let's see. I'm almost towards the end. Can TIF funds be used by properties that were acquired by the city through eminent domain and they're labeled green on the TIF website? Also, TIF funds are not for acquisition, only hard construction costs. Yes, that's correct, for hard construction costs. And then if the property is labeled as green on the TIF website, then it's eligible. Okay, thank you. Was that link provided? Enough for provided. Jasmine, thank you for providing that. Terry Miller, your question came up again. Yes, you can use your personal funds, financial statement for TIF application. How many years do I have to keep the property for the grant to be forgiven? Rashad Henderson, there's no requirement. When you sell a house, you do need to show, if you're doing this for home ownership, you need to show proof that the home was sold to a household in whose income does not exceed 115% of AMI. Again, we have that available in the TIF as a link as well. And then for rental projects, same applies. And we have the income limits as well as the rent limits on this DACD's website in the NOFO application as links. Jerome Parker, is there property incentives for 100% disabled veterans or individuals, or as of, I don't know what that acronym stands for, Mr. Parker, but for this program, no. I'm not sure what type of other incentives are you looking for, whether it's development or personal. So may want to elaborate a little bit on that question. William Woodruff, is affordable housing the goal? Who is ensuring the rental or sale price will stay below the maximum allowable price if reimbursement occurs before the property goes to market? So again, Mr. Woodruff, I think I just answered that. Developers will need to provide proof that the house was sold to a household income does not exceed the AMI levels in the application, which is 115% of AMI. We make those income limits available to the public to be able to access that information. So again, they'll be able to do that. And the grant managers, they will review that information before providing full funds to the applicant, or the grantee once they receive the funds. So again, there will be a review of that information. Shalita Stanton again. What criteria or credentials must be third party? What criteria or credentials must a third party inspector have? We need Wendy and Stacy. I'll leave that up to y'all.
So third-party inspectors are typically, they're typically licensed. If you have a project and you have a third-party inspector you are already working with, we would ask that you include that information as part of your application. If you do not have a third-party inspector, DHCD is working on making them available available as projects get under construction.
All right, thank you. And question from Isaac. He said you keep saying TIF district. You keep saying TIF district, but doesn't it need to be in the TIF property? Meaning it needs to be one of the greenhouses on the site. Yes, that's correct. I dropped the link in there as well. You just need to put the property address in there, and it'll tell you if the property is eligible for TIF. Okay. Celeste Morris, will the city fast track approval of their properties will the city fast track approval of their properties in time for application deadline?
Paul, I think we need more clarity. Repeat that.
I'm just reading exactly how the participant wrote it. Will the city fast track approval of their properties in time for application deadline?
So if you have been awarded property and you need to execute an LDA, the answer is yes. We will move quickly to make sure that your LDA is executed. If you are trying to purchase property, you're just submitting an application to purchase property, again, I would consider the next round of TIF funds.
All right. Ms. Davis, may you offer upfront cash to fill a funding gap? No, Ms. Davis, is reimbursement basis only. B. Williams, what's the name of the program you mentioned that did not require the AMI? So again, the Community Catalyst Grant Capital Program. It's another funding program through DHCD, which is under the Grant Administration Division. Again, the application has a deadline of October 3rd. And again, that program doesn't specify AMI requirements in its NOFA. Those are funding available. So if you're interested in projects, again, that exceed the 115 AMI level requirement for this program, you may want to look into the Community Catalyst Grant Program. Christopher Barrett, the TIF map website is not loading. Is there another way to access it other than the link provided in the chat? Christopher, it might be your network. I'm looking at it right now at the moment. You may want to just ensure that your network connection is good. If not, I will try after this presentation because maybe folks are probably trying to get on at the same time or something, but that is the link to use.
And Paul, if I can just jump in,
Mhm.
the link to the link to determine if your property is eligible is also included in the notice of funding opportunity. So if you can't download it from here, if you go on and you pull up the note onto DHCD's website and you look at the notice of funding opportunity, there will be a link you can click that will say, here's where you can go to determine if your property is eligible.
Thank you, Stacy. And Jerome Parker, for service disabled veteran-owned small business. Again, Mr. Parker.
Oh,
again,
can you repeat the question? It broke up a little bit on our end, please.
It wasn't a question. It was more just Jerome Parker. He asked a question about the disabled veteran earlier. He would just let me know what the acronym
All right.
meant.
Thank you.
Kim Lane. If there is consideration of extending the application deadline, we'll let you know. As far as the due date. Okay. Thank you, Jordan, for that response. Again, it was this question regarding can a certified HUD consultant act as a third-party inspector? This is from George Hockaday Bay.
you know, we don't really have enough information to answer that question.
All right.
They're typically, you know, we just don't know right now the way the question was worded.
All right. Ryan Albright, if a property is owned in the TIF district you are buying, but it does not have a vacant letter from the city, does it not qualify for funding? So you need you would need a VBN. Is that what, I think that's what he's asking. Does he need a, if it's in the
Property
TIF
needs to
district?
be specifically listed in the TIF district.
And the properties that are eligible, if you look at the map and all those green dots, those green dots are vacant properties that have been issued a vacant building notice by the city. At the time that the TIF district was approved by the city council.
All right. Alfred Johnson, again, that link will be forthcoming with the actual application once it becomes live on Friday. Thank you, Kiera, for answering that question. When is the next round of TIF? When is the next round of TIF funds if property is not secured at this time?
We don't have the answer to that question right now. We don't know.
All right. Thank you all for answering the question about the AMI. That means area median income. Mia Williams, correct. Community College Grant. That's CCG. Thank you, Jasmine, again. Trying to go through so many questions. I may be talking fast, but again, thanks to the team and everyone that's called for responding and understanding. I see a property
And
42.
go ahead. No, go ahead, Paul.
From Isam. Oops. So Isam asked, I see property 424 and Strickler in the TIF map, but I don't know, but I know the owner and he rehabbing it.
So we can answer that one. We included properties that had a vacant building notice on them. The owner of the property has applied for a permit. They may be doing some work. We included those properties in the TIF district because depending on where they are in the construction process, the commissioner wanted to make sure that these property owners trying to bring these properties back online could have the opportunity to access TIF funding. It's not a guarantee that funds will be awarded. It's not a guarantee that the work for which funds may be needed would be eligible. But you know,
Right.
if you are rehabbing a vacant property, please check the property list and see if your property is eligible. Take a look at the notice of funding opportunity. Take a look at the application when it goes online on September 19th.
All right, thank you, Stacey. And just for everyone on this call to know, we got about 2 minutes left. Again, we have to end promptly at 2:30. If you have any other questions after this, just please make sure that you email them to the provided email in the presentation as well as on the NOFA. Ryan Albright, okay, thank you. So has to have a vacant letter from the city. I think he's asking more of a clarity question on that. Keep saying TIF district. Okay. Where's the website link again? Tremaine Oliver, Mr. Oliver, I can respond to that email. I mean, to your question with the link to the web page, which includes all the resources from today's presentation and more information about the program. All right. Where can we find the PDF version of the application to review before the 19th? Will Rogers again provide a link to the application, well, to the web page of DC's website with all the information about the TIF program. So you got that. This was helpful. Thank you. Nadira, you're welcome. Glory Marta, there is a house eligible in my neighborhood. How can I get in contact with the owner and how can I buy it?
Paul, can you repeat the question, please?
This person is just asking, they have a property that's eligible in their community and they want to get a hold of the owner to buy it.
Yeah, you would have to come up with your own way to connect with the property owner.
Yeah. Camille Scott, how does AMI come to play for first-time home buyers purchasing a primary residence? Again, Camille, cannot exceed 115% of AMI. So again, the AMI can be lower than 115. But again, that's the maximum limit. So some projects that may be available that may be awarded and these funds are used towards may have AMI levels lower than 115, but can't exceed that at the time of move-in for the applicant. All right. This is awesome. Thank you. You're welcome, Alexander. Regina, thank you for your information about their realtor address. Sean, you're welcome, sir. And I believe that's it. We're right on time. So again, if you have any other questions, please send those questions to DHCD's email address that we provided for this program. So you'll be able to make sure that your questions are answered. We will respond. We will post responses to these questions on DHCD's website in the next couple of business days. And if you find that you need to learn more about the program and want to learn more about the program, there is a session tomorrow at 5:30 where you can be able to answer some of your questions that you may forgot from this presentation. So again, that ends this. But if you have any other questions, feel free to email us, but then also participate in tomorrow's presentation at 5:30 on the same program. It'd be the same presentation if you have any further questions. Thank you all, and have a good one.